and welcome back to BeHookedCrochet.com. I'm your host Brittany. This is video number 2 of the crocheted teddy bear. If you're just joining us, you're going to want to visit the link in the description below to find more information about this pattern. Video number 2 is going to cover how to crochet the body, the limbs, and the tail. In this section of the video, we are going to crochet the body of our bear, and we're going to get started again by creating the magic ring. So we'll go over this one more time a little bit slow, and what you want to do is take that tail end of your yarn, wrap it around your first 2 fingers of your non-dominant hand, secure the tail with your thumb, and then grab onto your working strand in between those back 2 fingers. And again, you want to pull kind of tight on those. And now insert your hook underneath both of those loops, grab the back and pull it directly underneath the front. Now we're going to grab our working yarn and pull that through the loop on our hook to lock the magic ring in place, and we'll chain 1 since we're working in single crochets. Now we can go ahead and hold on to that chain and then gather up our yarn so it's more comfortable. And again, we got to make sure that we're working over that tail and that we've got it coming forward and it's laying along that other loop. Now we just need to make 6 single crochet into this ring. Okay, and once we've got our 6, we'll just hold on to this real tight and pull that tail to fasten up our ring. And as we do that, we can see the first single crochet that we made right here. And since we're working in a spiral, let's go ahead and make 1 single crochet into that first stitch. So we're not joining, we're just going to keep going. Single crochet, and then grab your stitch marker and put that into place. Now, just like we did for the head, the second round is going to be 2 single crochets into every stitch, and so we've got the first single crochet there that we just made with our stitch marker, and we just want to single crochet once more into that same stitch, and then put 2 single crochets into every stitch for a total of 12 stitches. Okay, that finishes off round 2, and as I said, if you're counting, we have 12 stitches now. And moving on to round 3, we want to make 1 single crochet into that first stitch, the one that had the stitch marker. Make sure we want to put that back in place. And now the next stitch is going to get 2 single crochets. So this is following the same rules of crocheting in the round as far as increasing goes. We made 2. Now we'll make 1 single crochet into this next stitch, and then 2 in the next, and just repeat that sequence around. Now if you've been increasing properly, you should end up with your last stitch needing 2 single crochets, And at the end of round 3, we'll have a total now of 18 stitches. Round 4, we're going to increase again. This time we're going to put 1 single crochet into the first 2 stitches. So that was 1 and 2. And in the next stitch we'll increase by placing 2 single crochets into that same stitch. And just repeat that sequence. 1 single crochet into the next 2 and 2 single crochets into the next. And at the end of round 4, we should end up with 24 stitches and having 2 single crochets into that last stitch next to the stitch marker. Moving on to round 5, we're going to increase again for this round, so we'll make 1 single crochet into the first 3 stitches. So that was 1, 2, and 3, and then we'll increase with 2 stitches into the next. Now 1 single crochet into the next 3, and 2 into the next. And that's our repeat for this round. At the end of round 5, we will have a total of 30 stitches. And moving on to round 6, we're going to increase again. This time we want to single crochet once into the first 4 stitches. And now we'll make 2 single crochets into the next stitch for our first increase. Now we'll single crochet once into the next 4 stitches. And 2 stitches into the next. And just repeat that until we've reached the stitch marker. Now at the end of round 6, we'll have a total of 36 stitches. And round 7 is going to be the last round that we're going to increase. So we'll go ahead and get started on that. So we want to make 1 stitch into the first 5 stitches, 1 single crochet stitch. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we'll single crochet 2 times into the next stitch for our first increase, and now make 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches, and put 2 single crochets into that next one. And that's the repeat pattern for this round. And this finishes up round 7. We'll move along now to rounds 8 through 19. They're going to be exactly the same. We're going to make 1 single crochet into every stitch, including the one here with the stitch marker as our first. Now you'll want to make sure that you move that stitch marker along every round, and sometimes it's easy if you make a tally mark on a piece of paper or something like that to help you keep track of which round you're on. So at this point now, go ahead and pause your video and crochet rounds 8 through 19, and we'll meet back up at the end of round 19. After you've finished round 19, your body should look something like this. And starting with round 20, we're going to make a decreasing round, and we're going to do this a little differently than what we did for the head. We're going to alternate rows of decreasing and just regular single crochets, and by doing so we're going to make a less drastic of a change. So it's not going to be perfectly rounded, it's going to kind of taper up at the top. So for round 20 we want to single crochet once into the first 5 stitches, and then we're going to single crochet decrease over the next 2. So we'll review that real quick. We want to insert our hook into that next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, keep it there, insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 3 loops. Now single crochet once into the next 5 stitches, and then do a single crochet decrease over the next 2. And that's our pattern repeat for this round. Single crochet into the next 5, and then a single crochet decrease. Now at the end of round 20 we'll have a total of 36 stitches, and we'll move on to round 21 where we're just going to put 1 single crochet into every stitch. Now at the end of round 21, we again will have a total of 36 stitches. We're going to move on to round 22, where we're going to decrease again this round. So we're going to make one single crochet into the first 4 stitches. So that was 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're going to make a single crochet decrease over the next 2 stitches. Now single crochet once into the next 4. And single crochet decrease. And then just repeat this sequence until we've reached the stitch marker. Now at the end of round 22, we'll have a total of 30 stitches. And for round 23, we're going to make one single crochet into every stitch. So no decreasing for this round. Round 24 is another round of decreasing. This time we're going to single crochet once into the first 3 stitches. And a single crochet decrease over the next 2 stitches. Now single crochet into the next 3. And a single crochet decrease over the next 2 stitches. And that's our pattern repeat for this round. The last 2 stitches should be a single crochet decrease to finish off this round. Now we should have a total of 24 stitches. Moving on to rounds 25 and 26, these are going to be the exact same. We're just going to single crochet one time into every stitch. Moving right along to round 27, we're going to decrease again this round. This time we're going to make a single crochet into the first 2 stitches. And then a single crochet decrease over the next 2. Now single crochet into the next 2 stitches. And single crochet decrease. And then we'll just repeat this sequence until we've reached the stitch marker. Now the last 2 stitches should be a decrease, and that finishes up round 27. Now we have 2 remaining rounds for the body of our bears, and for rounds 28 and 29 we're just going to make 1 single crochet into every single stitch. Once you've completed round 29, you'll have a total of 18 stitches all the way around, and we're ready now to bind off. Now it's safe to remove your stitch marker, and we'll just place this aside and we'll get started on the next portion of our pattern. In this portion of the video, we're going to discuss how to crochet the arms and the legs of our bears, and it's actually the same pattern. So we're going to go over how to crochet 1 in this tutorial, and then you're going to crochet 3 more after you're finished. We're going to begin again by creating a magic ring. So let's review that one more time. I'm just going to wrap my yarn around my first 2 fingers, and I'm securing the tail under my thumb, and I've got the working yarn coming out the back. I want to make sure that these strands are pretty tight because I'm going to be working with them. So you'll just insert the hook underneath both of the loops and then pull that back strand underneath the front strand. Then you're going to grab the working yarn and pull through to lock the magic ring in place. And we're going to chain 1 because we're working in single crochets. Now we can remove this from our fingers and gather up the yarn, and we're going to continue by making 6 single crochets into this ring. Now, as I mentioned before, if you're having trouble with the magic ring, you can use an alternate method. I actually have a video on how to do that on my YouTube channel. Or if there's another way that you're familiar with that you like doing, you can also do that. You just want to make sure that you end up with 6 single crochets. Once you've got your 6 single crochets, then you can draw up your ring by pulling on that tail. And now we're going to go ahead and start off round 2 by making a single crochet into that first stitch. And now we'll go ahead and mark this first stitch with our stitch marker. From here we want to go ahead and make 1 more single crochet into that same stitch, because for this round we're going to put 2 single crochets into every stitch for a total of 12 stitches. When you've reached your stitch marker, we're ready to begin round 3. And so we just need to remove this. And this is going to be the first stitch of this round. We'll go ahead and make 1 single crochet. And don't forget to place your stitch marker again so you know where to begin the next round. So we've got 1 single crochet in the first stitch, and in the next stitch we need to have 2 single crochets. And this is a round of increasing, and so we're just going to increase in the normal manner for crocheting in the round. So we've got 1 stitch, 2 stitches. So the next stitch is going to be 1 single crochet, and the next 2 single crochets. And then 1 single crochet and 2. And if you're counting along at the end of this round, we should have a total of 18 single crochets. If you've done things correctly, you should end up with the last stitch having 2 single crochets. So the stitch next to the stitch marker should have 2. And that's going to finish off round 3. Rounds 4 through 8 are going to be exactly the same. We're no longer going to be increasing. We're just going to make 1 single crochet into every stitch. So you want to make sure that you adjust your stitch marker every round, that way you can count along and know what place you're at. And we're just going to single crochet once into every stitch for rounds 4 through 8. Once you've finished up through round 8, your piece should look something like this. And then moving on to round 9, we're going to make 1 round of decreasing. So we're going to make 1 single crochet into that first stitch, the one that had the stitch marker. And over the next 2 stitches, we're going to do a single crochet decrease. So we'll review that one more time. You'll insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, and pull up a loop. And then you'll insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, and pull up a loop. Now with 3 loops on your hook, we'll yarn over and pull through all 3. Then we're going to single crochet into the next stitch, and make a single crochet decrease over the next 2, and that's our repeat. Now if you've been counting correctly and doing the pattern correctly, the last 2 stitches should be a single crochet decrease. And that finishes off round 9. Rounds 10 through 23 are going to be exactly the same. We're going to make one single crochet into every stitch, just like we did earlier for rounds 4 through 8. We're going to be working the same way with rounds 10 through 23. So we just want to make one single crochet into every stitch, and again you want to make sure that you're moving your stitch marker every round, that way you can keep track of where you are and how many rounds you've crocheted. At the end of round 23, your limb should look something like this, and at this point we're ready to bind off. Now again, we want to leave ourselves a tail that's several inches long. And that finishes up the first limb. Now, as I said at the beginning of this section, we need to have 3 more, so go ahead and crochet 3 more limbs and we'll proceed with the next portion of this video. In this last portion of the video, we're going to crochet the tail for our bears. Now we're going to start off the tail the same way that we've started the other body parts. We need to create a magic ring, so I'm just going to wrap the working yarn around my 2 fingers, secure it with my thumb and with my fingers in the background, place my hook underneath both of the loops, pull that back loop forward, lock the magic ring into place, and we're going to chain 1 because again we're working in single crochet stitches. For the tail, we're going to start off by single crocheting 6 times, and we are not counting this chain 1 as a stitch, so go ahead and single crochet 6 times. Once you've single crocheted your 6 stitches, go ahead and close up your magic ring. And now we're going to start off round 2 by single crocheting into the first single crochet that we've made of our 6. So I'm just going to insert my hook under there and single crochet 1 for now. Then I'm going to pick up the stitch marker, and we want to make sure that we mark this as our first stitch, just like we've been doing. That way we know that this is the first stitch of the round. So you want to continue by single crocheting 1 more time into that same stitch, and we're going to put 2 single crochets into each of the remaining 5 stitches. Now you've completed round 2 when you've put your last 2 single crochets into the stitch next to the stitch marker, and at this point, if you're counting along, you should have a total of 12 stitches. To begin round 3, we're just going to remove our stitch marker and we're going to make our first single crochet into that stitch, and then place our stitch marker back into that stitch that we just made. And now we just want to make 1 single crochet into every stitch until we've reached our stitch marker again. So we are no longer increasing. And once you've reached the stitch marker, you should have 12 stitches again. And that completes round 3. Round 4 of the tail, we're just going to remove our stitch marker again, make our first single crochet into that same stitch, and then replace the stitch marker. And again, we're going to make 1 single crochet into every stitch. And when you've reached your stitch marker again, that concludes the tail, so we can go ahead and bind off. Now you can place the tail aside, and in the next section we'll talk about how to attach and sew together our bear.